So thank you very much, Professor Kunrad, for your kind introduction, and thank you to the Journalists and Writers Foundation for the invitation to participate in this panel exchange. I wanted to begin with taking us back a few decades to share with you an anecdote that takes us back to World War II, and when the Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy. And once the troops were there, there was an imperative to ensure that food and supplies, oil, gas, medical supplies were constantly flowed into France, into Normandy, and onwards to the troops. And this required building what they call the mulberry piers. They had to build these piers and transport them from England across the Channel to France, 1 kilometer long. And I want to share with you a memo that Winston Churchill wrote to Admiral Mountbatten on 30th May 1942. And he said, "Piers for use on the beaches. They must float up and down with the tide. The anchor problem must be mastered. Let me have the best solution worked out. Don't argue the matter. The difficulties of the matter will argue for themselves." This call for innovative and solutions thinking was as essential then as it is now. The tackling complex problems and achieving the ambitious results required collective actions that link diverse expertise, knowledge and ideas, resources from across all segments of society that is working together for a common cause. Despite often at times being motivated by different incentives. Not only has the turn to the preamble, one only has to turn to the preamble of the Agenda 2030 itself to illustrate the critical importance of collaborative partnerships. It says all countries and stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership will implement this plan to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want, and to heal and secure our planet. The related SDG goal, SDG17, seeks specifically to strengthen the global partnership for sustainable development, complemented by multi-stakeholder partnerships that mobilize and share knowledge and expertise, technology, and financial resources. We simply have to glance back 1 year to draw an important example of collaboration on an unprecedented scale involving governments, medical practitioners, researchers, vaccine companies, tech companies, civil society organizations, philanthropists, foundations, businesses, and importantly, citizens to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. The unprecedented impacts and consequential social, economic, humanitarian needs introduced or exacerbated by COVID-19 drove the rapid development of vaccines and adoption of new digital technologies and at scale. These partnerships were harnessed to support the public health and education response worldwide, but also the trajectory of generating digital solutions was accelerated through greater innovation, investment, and access. This is an exciting moment, and rather, let's call it an SDG17 moment, to explore the kinds of transformations and collaborations, including adapting mindsets, capabilities, and network platforms that are needed to help us navigate uncertainty and achieve sustainable development impact. Last year, we entered the 10-year countdown for the world to come together and deliver on the 17 SDGs. This decade of action began with the devastating COVID-19 pandemic that was a litmus test for multilateral cooperation across all sectors and domains. The fight against this global pandemic, which has taken so many lives and challenged our societies, will require breakthrough barriers to enhance international cooperation, to strengthen worldwide solidarity, articulating the Secretary General's recently unveiled Our Common Agenda report. And a key message of this agenda reads loud and clear. We must recognize that humanity's very future depends on solidarity, trust, our ability to work together as a global family to achieve common goals. No community or country, however powerful, can solve its challenges alone. This requires new ideas, untapped partnerships, and future-focused thinking to take us beyond this inflection point in our common history. So SDG 17 should not be seen as a goal to be achieved itself. It exists as a crucial enabler to ensure the other 16 interconnected goals can be met. It's that middle domino piece in an interdependent chain, and without it, progress can only go so far. To further accelerate action on the future-focused aims of our common agenda and achieve the SDGs, it's important to broker the kinds of partnerships that have traditionally been overlooked and untapped. There is a need for innovative, inclusive, and adaptive means to effectively advance the Sustainable Development Agenda. And there's no shortage of willing and well-meaning stakeholders and partners. What is greatly needed is effective and efficient leadership at multiple levels, not just amongst heads of state, but within the world's leading multilateral institutions, as well as local level institutions, such as academia and private sector, that are leading these transformations in knowledge and information exchange, impact-driven entrepreneurial initiatives, and right-sizing future-focused solutions to address 21st century challenges and threats to our human security and our planet. Threats such as inequality, climate change, natural disasters, conflict, diseases that really threaten our lives. The essence of collaborative leadership is to be able to identify those dynamics, manage those relationships among different groups, and bring all key stakeholders to form a new commitment for whole of society change to drive this agenda. Making this SDG-driven multi-stakeholder process successful requires a coalition, a common problem-driven approach, a platform, and a container or a holding space that allows stakeholders to work on complex and conflicting issues in constructive and co-creative ways. The capacity to form powerful coalitions to drive systemic change is essential. The process of forming such coalitions will rely heavily on individuals who share the commitment to deliver on the 2030 agenda, yet in different ways. To gather a critical mass of individuals who will advance the same narrative, who can translate promises into action calls for the creation of an enabling environment for collaboration, which in turn requires a shift in the way we inform and bring stakeholders together. One of the shortfalls of cross-sectoral collaboration is that it's often seen as mainly a matter of good intentions rather than requisite skills, which is equally important. Building the capacity for cross-sectoral collaboration is a long process that requires a high level of commitment, which can be based on emerging dynamics as well as conflicting interest groups. In 2018, the United Nations field tested this approach to create collaborative spaces with the UN country teams through SDG leadership labs that promoted systems thinking and cultivating a mindset of doing development differently through forms of multi-stakeholder engagement and new actors and co-creating those solutions with them. A key challenge to SDG 17 is the aspirations of the goal itself. The call for new global and local actors, new areas of collaboration, new networks, all involved in distributed problem solving and putting solutions into action. Small network coalitions can connect with larger network hubs to amplify collaboration and solutions. Her Excellency just recently mentioned the example of humanitarian hubs in Panama in her remarks, which is a prime example and potential of these network nodes. The example of the Global Compact is also a critical one and a successful one in showing and demonstrating how distributed networked multilateralism within the private sector guided by principles and values can make an impact. In the academic space, the Academic Council of the United Nations System, established in 1987 by a group of concerned scholars at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire in the US, also embraced that call for collaboration. And they envisioned a professional association that would unite students, scholars, advisors, practitioners, policymakers, and that represented a wide array of disciplines and areas in different sectors, focusing on evidence-based analysis of the UN system and the issues the system is grappling with. And through events and publications and online networking opportunities, the Academic Council really fostered analysis and debate around major international challenges and increased the accessibility of the UN system to scholars and facilitated development of new scholarship around the UN and international affairs, as well as the challenges that face multilateral organizations and ways to connect that knowledge with know-how that is critically important. I would like to emphasize the importance of leadership in this matter around collaboration and multi-stakeholder coalitions. You know, the SDGs have set up a kind of a second generation leadership challenge that we will all individually and collectively together are involved in, must diagnose, grapple, and adjust our approaches. And these are not technical challenges that can generally be solved by improving current practices. These are challenges that require deeper questioning of the fundamental ways we collaborate. We've recognized in the past ways of thinking and collaborating are insufficient. This is clear, and we must continue to learn what to conserve from the past practices, what to discard from those past practices, and to invent new ways to build from the past, the best of the past, and how to rethink the future. We can do so by cultivating new capabilities to be multi-level systems thinkers, where collaboration not only creates opportunities, but seeks possibilities. And this is really the essence of that future-focused mindset. And some key notes to that mindset I'd like to conclude with is one, to adapt our thinking and behaviors that enhance exchange between larger and smaller systems to respond to the constantly changing environments that we live in. Two, to collaborate better, to build a shared understanding of the problems, enabling joined up support for effective solutions to our common challenges. And lastly, to transform our focus on positive change to create those long-term impact and scaling of solutions that can benefit people and our planet. Thank you very much.